Hello, Jason June. Was that
Hi,
cool?
that music was so catchy.
I was like, kind of head bobbing.
I was bopping along to it. Just I almost kept it on a little bit longer.
I loved it.
I felt like this might be a cool new way to intro the videos into the nest rather than bam, we're here.
I loved it. It felt right. Everyone could you prepare yourself. It's like, here we go. Countdown New Year's Eve vibes. I love it.
We kind of had our own little book evening club going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very chill.
I love it.
There wouldn't have been cocktails, there would have been tea. That was tea music. Just
Yeah.
tea and book music. I'm gonna wait for folks to come hang out in our go live, which I totally just messed up. I can't believe I did that and I messed up.
Ain't no thing.
We're live now.
You know, technology is one of those necessary evils. I still haven't figured it out.
At least we got to see it.
Yeah, we got to see it.
That's what's important. Exactly. Hi, Nesties. I may have made a mistake on my cool new intro video. I'm not going to do that the next time, but Jason June got a preview. Hi, Jason June.
It was so good. Hi, everybody.
You know what? If it's a live, there's going to be technical issues. Like,
I wouldn't even know how to start a live. I can't do an Instagram live. I'm not technologically literate, and I should be. So you're doing better than I would.
You don't have to be. It's okay. Even the very tech literate from this, I would like to count the number of lives that I've done and the number of times I've messed up, because you think that at this point I wouldn't. But technology, brains. There was really cool music. We were bopping along. Everybody missed it.
It was really great.
I could put the music
AI
on
will
right
be able
now
to do it for us soon enough before they take over the world.
All right, here's everybody's preview. Next time you're going to see it with an actual video. Everybody says that they're really excited for this chat. Hey, everybody in the comments. Jason June, this is your third chat?
Yes. Yeah, my third with Words and Whimsy. I'm so excited. And I love this whole OwlCrate partnership too. It's so exciting.
We just connected at Y'all West like a month ago.
Yeah. That was such
fun.
a wild time. It was so fun.
And this is the first time that you're going on tour in person and doing events in person.
Yes.
And you seem so naturally attuned to doing them, because you were handing out like your really cool Gaybutante hats.
Yes.
To everybody, and people were stopping you as we were walking to our filming location, and it was just like a really amazing experience because you loved it. There's some folks who like deserve to be, celebrities. You are a celebrity and you deserve it, because you were so kind and natural, and it was just really cool to see.
That really means a lot. I love being around people. And so it's funny because I am an introvert, and just that the true definitions are about how the energy that it takes from you. And after I have a whole bunch of interactions with people, I am drained, but I love every second of it. And I'm just so happy that I finally get to be around people, share my stories in person, since all my novels have come out during the pandemic. It's just been really lovely. And especially for Riley Weaver, this is my favorite thing that I've ever written. So I'm so happy to share it face to face with folks.
My brain just switched off. Can you use our famous question for anyone who is number one?
Number one. Sorry, your brain switched off and it turned mine off too. For anyone who's not familiar with you and your work, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yes. My name is Jason June. It's a two-name first name like Mary Kate without the hyphen or the Olsen twin. And I write YA stories full of queer love and lust and joy. And yeah, my latest is Riley Weaver Needs a Date to the Gaybutante Ball, about a femme gay protagonist like myself who wants to be a podcaster, and in serving that goal, starts a podcast to detail what it's like dating while femme and gay in order to find a date for the infamous Gaybutante Ball.
I love that you made it infamous. And I hope that it creates this like cascade effect. You know how Sarah J. Maas's like ball has been recreated across the world?
Yes.
I want to see Gaybutante balls recreated in the same sense. I think folks should take take to their local communities. And I know that there's like gay proms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think we need a ball.
I think so too. And I mean, what's nice about the Gaybutante Society, just as a little rundown for folks, the Gaybutante Society is an unfortunately fictional yet fabulous society full of queer teen tastemakers that is a couple decades old now and is known for launching all kinds of queer people's careers, whether they be artists, actors, activists, politicians. Their alumni are Oscar nominees, Tony Award winners, the inventor of an indestructible steel heel, federal lawmakers. So all of these amazing queer people that have come up and been boosted by the society. And Riley wants to become like the world's most downloaded podcast interviewer and thinks that getting into the society could really boost his career since they have such a big following and like one share from them can really help blow you up. And so I would really love if the Gaybutante Society became an actual thing because it's all just about like boosting queer voices and celebrating your queerness, whatever your labels are. You're all welcome. And there's no like pass fail to get in. It's just if you can maintain the 4 pillars of gayness, which are hosting, you have to host an epic party, mentorship, you have to mentor an up and coming young gay, service, you have to give back and do a little community service, and then general gay chaos, which is just doing any kind of outward display of queer flamboyance that is not illegal, but whatever you want to do that creates general gay chaos is loved and accepted. And I think that would be such a fun thing to see in real life because so many of us are just chaotic, as you can tell listening to me. Even when we're not more like excitable gay muppets like myself, basically everyone in the queer alphabet is chaotic in their own special way.
100%.
In the best ways.
In the best ways.
The reading challenge this month is Pride Rock, and then in brackets S, and it's Gay Lion King themed.
I love everything about that.
So we love chaos, and that should definitely be a hashtag.
Yes, general gay chaos.
Yeah,
or
even so, organized gay chaos. Like almost like militia, like let's do it. The last time that you were here, we discussed authors that have been influential to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like now that you've got multiple successful books in the New York Times bestseller status?
Oh my gosh. That's been wild. The biggest compliment to me is when somebody reaches out and asks for a blurb. That just means so much to me. And it's like to be a small part of all these amazing writers' author journey. And so many authors gave back to me by giving me a blurb. And I don't even know how much blurbs help or not. I asked my editor recently, I was like, because reaching out for blurbs still is so awkward. And I was like, do these even really matter? And she was like, we find that they actually do. So it's just a huge compliment to know that other authors want to interact with me and want to hear what I have to say about their work. And it's always just like so fun. I've been reading amazing, amazing, amazing stories, and I'm like so excited.
I would definitely pick up a book that had a blurb from you on it.
Thank you.
I would. I'd be like, Jason liked that one. Jason James said so.
It's still so surreal to me that anybody even knows my name. So like that's very lovely. Thank you.
What are some of the books that you have felt like were most excellent that you blurbed?
Ooh, so I just finished This Pact Is Not Ours by Zachary Sergey, and it's coming out on October 3rd. We actually are released twins, and that is a gay horror, supernatural, and it's like it's following this group of 4 kids. I'm trying to give a synopsis without giving anything away. That goes to a summer camp, but it's like a family summer camp. Everybody comes to this lake area every year, and it's so idyllic and it's so perfect. And the lead finds out the reason it's so perfect is because of a very dark curse that they have now been pulled into, and they've got to find out if they're going to be able to keep this area perfect and pristine for everybody, or if they're going to try to break the curse, which was super good. Another horror was Adam Sass's Your Lonely Nights Are Over. It's like gay scream, and it's so good. From the first chapter, There is blood and gore, so, like, be ready for that. But it is just so campy and fun and delicious, and I just loved it so, 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 so much.
Those are Leah books.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love a lot of these books that are coming out now with, like, song lyric titles.
Yeah.
Like these
Yeah.
pop culture callbacks.
Yes. So my fantasy that comes out on October 3rd is called The Spells We Cast, and it took us forever to come up with a title. So much so that it was like pulling my hair out. I've never had that happen before with the book. I've always had it be every title I gave my manuscript when I started ended up being the published title. And for the fantasy, it wasn't working out that way. And we toyed with giving it sort of magical spins on Taylor Swift lyrics because one of the leads is a Swiftie, and that just wasn't working. It was just we couldn't figure out the right one. But we finally came across The Spells We Cast. It's like, yes, this is what it's supposed to be called. So that's been good.
And it comes out on October 3rd as well?
October 3rd, Mean Girls Day, which I feel like is publishing's acceptance of gays in the publishing world because there are multiple gay books coming out on October 3rd.
Well, I love that even more. But does that mean you're gonna come back in October to talk to us during Spooky Month?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any plans for the summer that don't include writing?
Oh my gosh. Right now, so I'm gonna in the end of June, this is such a pinch me moment. So my Desaxis Publishing is my French publisher, and they have published Jay's Gay Agenda and are going to be publishing Out of the Blue in French later in the summer. But they're taking me and Robbie Couch to Paris and Lyon at the end of June to do a little like mini book tour, the two of us together in France, and that's like so magical. I can't even believe it. That's actually happening. So we'll have this fun European trip, and my husband and a bunch of friends are going to come along, and it'll be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
what are you most looking forward to seeing?
Well, for France, I'm most looking forward to like actually meeting readers. I've been to Paris before, and I love it. And I'm just so excited to see what the whole like book world is like over there because I literally have no idea, none at all. So it's going to be super duper fun. I'm definitely going to get some macarons. And if I've got some time, stroll through the Louvre. I love a good European museum. It's so great over there. It's so great over there. And the one time I've been to Paris before, I didn't get to go to the Moulin Rouge. So I might see if we can work that out. And I really want to go to Disneyland Paris.
That would be cool too.
It would be cool. There's a lot of things that I want to do in only a few days. So we'll see if I can get them all done.
Or are we going to get like some fashion on your Instagram?
Yes. I got to work out my outfits for that. I'm not going to be so plain faced and plain Jane like I am right now.
Stop saying that. You look amazing.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we've been patiently waiting for Riley Weaver since you shared him with us last year that he was coming. Can you please share with the Nest a little bit more what this book is about? We kind of started touching on it, but let's go a little deeper.
Yes. So to dive a little deeper, really the main crux of the story is, as we said before, Riley wants to be a podcaster and thinks the Gaybutante Society can help him get there. And there's your whole Gaybutante season, which lasts a semester, ends in the Gaybutante ball, and you must have an escort, just like the debutantes that inspired them. You have to have somebody from your old life introducing you to your new life now that you're ready to become like an active member of the community. It doesn't have to be romantic, but because teens are all hormonal, it ends up mostly being romantic dates. And Riley overhears Skylar, who is a cis gay athlete, say to another Gaybutante hopeful that the guy that hopeful wants to bring as their escort is a no-go. He cannot ask that person because that guy is way too feminine. And gay guys wouldn't be gay if they liked feminine people. They would just be straight. And this is a trope that you hear in the gay world all the time. As a feminine gay person myself, I was actually doing an interview for Jay's Gay Agenda when that came out a couple years ago with Queer Tea, which is a lovely publication. My interviewer was amazing. It was just this great, joyous moment of queerness, that whole interview experience. But then I did what you're not supposed to do, and I read the comments after the interview got posted, and they were all from gay guys, and they were all hating on me, saying that I was a bad example for gay teens because I was saying gay men just want to turn into women. which is not at all what I was saying. I was discussing how Jay's journey coming into his gayness was sort of happening at the same time as my journey in my own life coming into my femness. And I obviously support any person that realizes if they were assigned male at birth that realizes they are a woman. I am fully on board with that. But I was in no way saying that that is what every gay person goes through. It's also not what I'm going through. I don't identify as a woman, but I do identify with the feminine and am femme and use feminine coded words. And so this whole story was born from that moment of Riley hearing Skylar say a lot of the same things these guys said, uh, and wanting to prove that there are gay guys that like femme guys, there are gay guys that like femininity, and even if you look and act and dress quote unquote like a woman, even though that's completely arbitrary and societally made up, uh, that we still deserve love too, and we can find it within the gay community. And so Riley, for his general gay chaos, starts this podcast because what's more chaotic than publicly talking about some of the things that we need to work on within the gay community. And so there's a lot of podcast interstitials in here where Riley talks about all the shenanigans he comes across while dating, while gay and femme, trying to find a romantic partner for the very first time in his life. And it's just the book of my heart. I feel like I got to give a love letter to femmes out there within the gay community and let them know how beautiful they are and how valid they are. And it was also sort of a gentle call in to the gay community that it's totally okay to have the things that you are romantically and sexually attracted to. You cannot help that. It's why queer people exist, is we cannot help what we are attracted to that mainstream straight society says we should be attracted to. Uh, but just because you have your preferences, there's some people that they love a shaved head. They love somebody who's taller than them. They love dark eyes, whatever it is. There are these things that are just instinctually alluring to us that we can't explain. But if there are people that you don't find attractive, you do not have to shit all over them. You can just respectfully say, I'm not interested, if somebody comes to you and says that they are interested. And certainly, if that person disrespectfully is kind of coming on to you, which we've all seen jerks like that, you can definitely give that person the read and be like, you need to stop, but don't take it upon yourself to then put down everybody within their community that might happen to share their labels. It's an individual journey along the way, whether or not you're attracted to somebody or not. It's about that specific person, and it's about your specific tastes and what you find attractive. But don't put down everybody else that isn't your bag, so to speak. And it was really delightful getting to talk about that and just share with the queer community as a whole that that a lot of the time when we think the world must hear what I don't like, uh, we really don't. And that's, it's okay to just keep that to yourself. And that goes to the straight community too. It would be, I keep saying it's the weirdest thing. Like, why do people feel they should do that about romance and you wouldn't do it anywhere else? You don't go sit down in a restaurant and somebody takes your order and you don't go, well, I don't want the clam chowder and I don't want the Reuben sandwich and I don't want the surf and turf. You order what you do want, because going through all the stuff that you don't want is, one, a waste of time, and two, just throws all this negative energy in from the jump that doesn't need to be there. Or if you went to the doctor and you're like, well, I don't need a nose job and I don't need you to check me for a cold because I don't have a sore throat and I definitely don't have a temperature. It's like, you're wasting all the time. The doctor just wants to know why you're there and what we can help with. And that goes to romance too. So that's a long-winded answer about that.
Was it a cathartic experience getting to write all of that?
Yes, it really super was. This was such a soul moment for me. It was just like, I needed to write this and it poured out of me. And I worried that the speed with which it poured out of me might have been a bad thing. But I sent it to my editor and she gave me the shortest editorial letter she's given me yet. And she's definitely not one of those that's just like trying to shirk work or whatever. She would give me the honest truth if it wasn't working. So it was just a really great validation to get that from her. And then just a few weeks ago, I got my very first starred review of my career from Booklist for this. And that was just another stamp of approval. Like, this was the universe saying I needed to tell this story. And it means the world to me. It's my, I said that before, but it's my favorite thing I've ever written. I can't get enough of it.
They do say that success is the best revenge.
Yes. Mwah.
Well, you know, you were tough on Riley too. You didn't let Riley get away with the things that he needed to work on.
Totally. And that's like, thank you for saying that. My biggest naysayers on the internet, because I'm definitely one of those masochists that reads their 1-star reviews, uh, say that I write unlikable characters. And I just like to say that I write human characters because I literally don't know a single person who hasn't uh, inadvertently or otherwise hurt another person before in their life. And every single human alive at one point or another in their life is the villain in somebody else's story. And I think that's such a true experience. I think it's also one of our most humanizing experiences when the people that we have the most maybe hate or anger for. I think one of the things that can actually eventually bring us around and find productive conversation through that is realizing that somebody has actually hated us before because of our actions, and that I'm so much more than the bad things I've done in my life, and I regret the people that I've hurt in my life, uh, and that is truly what makes us human, is how we come back from those mistakes and giving people the opportunity to come back from those mistakes.
Matridalia in the Nest, Jason June says, I love you so much for discussing this. This is absolutely a major issue in the queer community, and it's so nice to see it discussed and to see it in literature. And my follow-up is then, how do you think that we, as part of the community, as the LGBTQIA plus community, can do better by folks like
Yeah.
Riley in sorting out our own biases on
Yeah.
what's acceptable?
I love that question and I love that comment. Thank you so much. I think that the queer community as a whole really needs to remember that labels can be very liberating, but they can be very limiting too. It's so great when we finally find language that actually clicks with our heart and soul, and we know, like, oh yes, this is who I am, and this is how I can explain it to other people. But that's a key part of the equation too. We also have to remember that these labels are ways for other people to connect with us also. And when we get so bogged down in our own label or focusing on our own little corner, we disregard the whole beautiful alphabet soup of rainbow awesomeness that we have going on in the queer community. And remember, it's not an us versus them just because we have these different labels and different communities within our overarching community. We're still all in this together. And it's always important that we do say our unique challenges for our own labels and our own communities. But we also have to give people the grace that they're eventually going to get there and they're eventually going to understand us. We have to have the openness to also understand others and not think somebody is being too dramatic or overreacting. What essentially we have to do is take the time to really have these conversations with each other and allow people to disagree and have conversations over a length of time. I think now more than ever, society is going like this across all spectrums of our existence, not just politically in America where it's Democrat versus Republican or whatever the political parties are in your neck of the world. We're doing it everywhere. I see it happening in families. I see it happening in friend groups, in work scenarios, where if somebody disagrees with us, we just push them away. And I actually think that's a time where we need to, at worst, keep them here, keep them at arm's length, where we're not pushing them further. We're creating a safe distance between us if we do think truly maybe their views are enough that are like, whoa, danger zone. But we still need to keep them right here so we know what they think and why they think that, so that we can address it and hopefully make positive change. Because if you don't know the problem you're up against, if you don't know the disagreement you're up against, you can never fix it and you can never change it. And the only way we can do that is truly by having conversations that are multiple. It's not just one and done. It's finding that one seed of humanity you can pick up on in that person and pulling on that and letting it grow, even when you disagree with them so much. I get people that call me that will hashtag my social media post, kill your local pedophile. We know we're being called groomers. We're being called the most awful names. And even those people, and I'm not saying this is it for everybody, but for me, even those people, I need to know why they're saying that. And when the time is right, begin conversations with them so I can slowly but surely change their mind. many people, maybe even most people, I can't. And we're in such a moment where we're digging our heels in that no change will happen. But I'm a person that has said, I'm not going to dig my heels in the way I see the world. And I know there's somebody on the other side that also is going to give that little bit of play. And so this is why we need to keep having these conversations so you can find those people that are willing to have those tough conversations within the queer community, outside of the queer community. Because if we just push each other away, like I feel like we're doing, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And I know I sound so like kumbaya right now, but I truly believe that.
It's so true, though.
Yeah. And I get it's not everybody's jam, that they don't want to talk with people that they disagree with, but I find a lot of the time also, if people on our side, whatever that is for whatever issue, talk to people on the other side, they're seen as like betrayers or traitors.
Mhm.
And that kind of talk I think needs to stop. It needs to be somebody these are people that are trying to bridge a gap and are trying to genuinely change their viewpoint and acknowledge that we're all raised in our bubble, and it's hard to go through that. It's hard to change somebody's point of the world. Nick even says it in this book. He says people don't like being told that they're wrong. And most people, when you tell them that for the first time, are going to heavily push back and are not going to listen to you or try to hear you out. But we got to keep trying. Ugh.
Well, I've struggled with that too, because I've been in some communities that are like-minded to myself, but they were that extreme, like, well, unless you just kick those people out of your life, you're just as bad as they are. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do that. I have a day job and I have to get along with these people.
Yeah.
I know they're on the other side of politics and
Yeah.
a lot of the issues that are close to me,
Right.
but in other ways, we're very friendly together.
Yes.
So I can't just, and what am I supposed to do? Just quit my job and find somewhere that everyone thinks exactly the same as me? I mean, that's
No.
not going to solve anything.
I've had three
So,
people I live in Texas, and I've had three people in my Texas life who voted for Trump the first time, that then voted for Biden in 2020. And they said a big factor in their changing their vote was because I would just have conversations with them about why they voted for Trump. It wasn't an attack on them about you're a terrible person for doing this. It was, tell me what you think he's solving in your life that the other side wasn't. And here are some points where I think it's actually this side is helping and not Trump. And even if it's just three people, if even if it's one person, if each of us is affecting one person positively like that, that's a huge, massive change. And that only happened because I would have multiple conversations with them after finding out they voted for Trump and supported Trump. I would still invite them over because we had so much in our core that we truly agreed on.
mhm.
And that eventually helped me, like, acknowledging their humanity. And I think you can do that in any aspect. It doesn't have to be about politics. When you just say, there's a part of you in your heart that I truly love and adore. And here are some things that I don't agree with. Let's talk this out. Let's see why we're thinking differently. And maybe we can come to a consensus. So, yeah, I feel like I'm on a soapbox now, and I'm so sorry.
I
No,
had to
but you're
agree.
absolutely right. You have to keep reaching your hand out.
Yeah.
Because it also might come to a point where the folks that disagree with you end up having children, nieces, nephews who are part of the LGBTQI community.
Yeah.
And, you could be positively impacting people even though you don't think that you're positively impacting people.
Completely. It's so great. It's just like when you lean into love and lean into humanity, and I know it sounds so cheesy, I do find in general you'll see much greater results in your life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no one's going to respond well to an immediate "you're wrong."
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that's why,
your automatic response is defense.
yes. And that's why it hurts so much when we hear awful things directed at us in the queer community. It's like they're taking away our humanity and not acknowledging that. And that is so painful. And those people that are truly that awful, you can try and try and try and not have any change. And I will say, like, that you will know the natural point where it's like there's nothing that I can do anymore, and this is just hurting me, and you're actually stripping me of my humanity, and I can't do that.
Mhm.
That is, I'm for sure not saying that's not that doesn't exist, because it truly does. And those people, you just have to be like, I can't win. But if there are people in your family, people in your neighborhood that you know are good people, you just are having this moment where it's like, why don't we see eye to eye on this? Lean into that, but lean into it with that love.
Somebody said, well said, Jason. June, that's a point I try to make when I encourage discourse, know when to walk away to protect yourself. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Megan also says, after watching the first chat with Jason and June, it made me realize I'm gender fluid and I'd like to go by any pronoun. Hearing you chat about it made it click for me. So thank you, and that's great.
My God. Megan, that's really the most amazing thing I've ever heard. It's like the coolest. That's why I write, and that's why I love having these moments with y'all, is because that connection. I remember being in my own little queer corner of my conservative farming community, and nobody else was out, and I felt so alone. And I wanted to make it my life to be able to write queer characters so that regardless of what little corner of the country or the world that somebody else is in, they know they're not alone and they're seen. And that just like, I'm honestly on the verge of tears to know that that was a moment for you, Megan. And you're amazing. You've just totally uplifted my whole life.
Well, I mean, it comes through in your writing. You are an incredibly loving person, and we can tell that. just by reading your books, it's just like, oh, you're just so wonderful.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I just try to write joyful things and I try to hopefully be able to have somewhat deep conversations, but in a fun, campy, flamboyant lens. Where, I mean, that's how I feel in real life. It's like, even when I'm talking about the deepest stuff, I like to throw little bits of humor in there, because in the grand scheme of things, like, the world is going to keep turning. And I've got to have those little moments of like levity or lightheartedness or joy, even when we're talking about the deepest stuff, because that helps me keep going and keep acknowledging like the world is going to keep turning and stuff can really be shitty right now, but we'll get there. We'll get to those moments where we're having laugh out loud antics again.
Your stories, as you'd mentioned, I mean, they're bright, they're happy, they're playful. You even write books for young readers.
Yeah.
My kiddo, my daughter, has your Myrmicorn Island books, which I let you know. She's obsessed with them. But your stories, like, overall feel like a love letter to the LGBTQIA community. They're such a bright light. And especially with Riley Weaver, was it important for you to include queer rep like Aro and Ace characters in Riley that might otherwise be locked away, that people wouldn't usually experience?
Yes, it's really important to me to include Arrow and Ace characters, because that's such a valid experience. I tend not to write from the perspective of Arrow or Ace characters, because that I don't know that I could honestly do it the service it deserves, because I was a teen that was horny as hell, to be honest, and truly love being in romantic partnerships. Like, I always dreamed of having a husband, and I love being married. And so I feel like my heart is so in the opposite direction that I don't want to inaccurately portray the heart and soul of an Ace or an Arrow character. But I think that being is so, we have so much more we need to unlock in terms of representation in queer media of Arrow and asexual people, because I think a lot of the times our labels do focus on your sexual partners that you're drawn to having, which has excluded people who are like, I don't want to have sexual partners, or when I do, it's in a very specific moment, and it has very key key characteristics to me on when I feel safe enough to have intimate physical relationships. And so I want to always include mentions of characters that are Arrow and Ace, to know like, this, you can be just as proud in your labels as anybody else. And in a community that has prioritized romantic and sexual partnerships, you are still warmly loved and welcome and embraced here too. And I can't wait to read your stories as well.
That's a big deal for me, because I I never saw that in books when I
Yeah,
was the age that it might have made sense to me. I
right.
mean, I was terrified of sex,
Yeah,
and I was like, but I'm never gonna be able to find somebody that won't demand that from me as a
right.
partner.
Yeah,
And now as an adult, I'm more, aware of these different identities,
yeah,
and I'm like it was so eye-opening to me that I was just like, "There's other people like me that
yeah,
aren't all about that," because I would have
right.
friends and that's all they wanted to talk about, and it was just like, I don't think I want, I don't know, and I mean, if I had seen some characters like that and known what that
Yes,
was, I think that would have helped me a lot, at
yes,
least, in my confidence in being myself. I mean, I'm extremely lucky that I do have a partner who's very, you know, respectful of me and how I feel,
yeah,
and that, when I was that younger age, I just thought it was never gonna happen, and I thought, "Well, this is just how it's gonna be, and I'm gonna have to just deal with it, and it's gonna be awful."
right, right. And
So,
that's the key reason why representation truly does matter. And I sometimes I worry that people see that as like an overused phrase nowadays that we've been saying it, but it really does, where you can just see yourself or see or read something where you're like, I've literally said this before in my real life.
mhm,
And I finally see another human saying the same thing, even if it's just in a fiction book. It is such an eye-opening thing. I had that with Stephen Salvatore's Can't Take That Away, and Carrie is a genderqueer protagonist. And they had this whole discussion about their facial hair when they're getting ready in the morning. And Carrie is literally saying things that I've said in real life about how much I hate my facial hair. And it was
mhm.
just like, oh my God, it was this huge, like, ah, you're in my mind. It's so great.
But it's true, representation is important, and I don't think that we can overuse that because really,
Yeah,
how long has the book community been focusing on representation? Like a
right,
handful of years.
right.
Mhm.
Exactly. It's like with anything, with the book world or the media in general, there's always the, oh, hasn't that been done? Or oh, we've said this, yada yada yada. We especially nowadays where we're in the like instant gratification social media, we're watching TikTok videos that are 15 seconds to 1 minute. Anytime there's a publishing wide conversation that's going on for years, people are like, when is this ever going to end? It's like, it's going to go on for forever. And it should. We should be talking about how vampire stories aren't done because we haven't had vampire stories from everybody. And even if we have had vampire stories from everybody, why do we want that to end anyway? Vampires are freaking fun. Like, and who is here that's like the police of anything? It's like, oh, we can't have this anymore. It's been done. So what? Nobody, people aren't like calling up James Patterson. You have to stop writing books. You've written hundreds now. It's been done. You've been done. You have to stop. If we like the thing that we like, that's great. I will watch all 78 new Christmas movies that come out on the Hallmark Channel every single year, and then I'll watch the ones that I've already seen before that are airing in reruns throughout the holiday season because I freaking love it. Let's just like,
Mhm.
it goes back to what we were saying before. Instead of shouting from the rooftop all the things you don't like, why don't we focus on the things we do like and really leaning into that and being the freaking biggest fan of whatever it is you love, whether it's cheesy Hallmark movies, whether it's James Patterson novels, whether it's vampire novels. Love what you love, and don't take it upon yourself to make sure the people who love those things that you don't love, you let them know that you don't love it. That's just stupid. Let them have it.
Well, I think our society is really beating that into us. "Well, you're
Yes.
too old for this now. Well, you're
Yeah.
grown up. You shouldn't like this stuff." I
Yeah.
mean, I'm having that struggle now. Amanda will laugh at me because I just recently discovered K-pop.
It's so good.
And I'm like, "But I'm an old lady, I shouldn't like this." And she's like, "Whatever."
Love what you love. It's so important. Because if we're going to start getting down to the moment of like, oh, you shouldn't XYZ because you're XYZ, uh, you could nitpick anybody.
Mhm,
You could really pull them apart. It's like, and why do that? Why what if somebody is doing something that's truly not harming anybody else, why have any commentary on it whatsoever?
mhm,
Even if they're kind of, even if it is something where it's like, well, maybe a specific person is in a weird pattern that might be not helping them move forward or grow in their life, if it's actually not harming them, just shut up about it.
That's what I don't understand of so many people who are so against any of this is like, are we making you do something that you
Right,
don't want to do?
right. And then
Get out
it's
of our
always so
lives.
interesting too, where it's like, it's interesting the things people choose to say, oh, you shouldn't like this. Because it's, I could say a lot about why a lot of straight society should not idolize or focus on professional sports. There can be a lot of unhealthy behavior there too. But whatever, you like it, you want to root those guys on in tight pants, do your thing. It also can be used as a bridge to be like,
Mhm.
maybe you can see how everyone is a little bit in the queer spectrum. There are very few people who are 100% straight and very few people who are 100% gay. And your adoration, even if it's not sexual, of these dudes in form-fitting clothes tells you, like, even if you're 98% straight, you might be 2% gay. You are loving these men so much, and that's great. That's like a good door opener of you should just love humans and connect with their talent and their heart and their drive. That's a great thing. And stop focusing so much on the genitals of it all, and instead start focusing on the heart of something. And if that develops in a little bit of a crush, a playful crush on somebody of the same gender, and you consider yourself straight, that's also an exciting thing. It could mean you never ever want to have sex with somebody of the same gender, but you get having deep, deep emotional feelings for somebody of the same gender. And
Mm.
that's a door opener to understanding people who are a part of the queer community. I could go on about this forever.
That's okay. You're totally allowed to go on about this forever. It's resonating well in the comments because Shannara Rose says this entire chat makes me feel so seen.
Ah,
I'm even happier now that I've added your book to my TBR.
thank you so much. That makes me happy too.
But going back to that, I have never spoken about this publicly, but I am willing to. I have only been going by she, they pronouns for about 18 months now,
Exciting.
year and a half. I'm a baby non-binary and freshly hatched.
I love it.
Um, but it was a book. It was a book. It was Man O' War by Corey McCarthy
Ah,
and yeah, I know.
an amazing author.
Corey is a friend of mine, and I'm very grateful for him to be a friend of mine. And the entire progression of body dysmorphia, I kind of had it's like a light switch going on
Yeah.
for you because you're like, oh damn, I'm not really who I thought I was. This whole time I've not had a word for who I am, and I realized that after pregnancy.
Yeah. Ah, what a magical experience. I'm so glad you just had that lightning strike moment.
It was a lightning strike moment. It was a horrible lightning strike moment
Mhm.
because you feel
Yeah.
like your whole world just falls out from underneath of you, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Where do I go from here?"
Yeah.
And then you have to, like, start exploring kind of, like, as, as a baby queer, I guess.
Mhm.
And, it's a tough journey, but without books, I never would have got there, or maybe it would have taken me another 36 years,
Yeah.
right?
Completely. It's like it's so important, and it's also, I think, it highlights we've had very similar, like, time frames. I didn't come into my own in my feminist and my gender queerness until after I turned 30. And it was when I turned 30, I said, "I'm never going to wear a pair of quote unquote boy pants or masculine pants ever again. I hate the way they sit on my body. It doesn't make me feel good. And I'm not going to. And I haven't since I turned 30. So it's now been 5 years. And I just feel so much myself, but I fully get that moment where you're like, there's a little bit of regret where you feel like you've wasted time, where it's like, why didn't I know this beforehand? There's a little bit of like trepidation and fear in finally displaying yourself or labeling yourself or calling yourself who you know you are when society might not get it. But then there's that like really great joy too when you're like, no, but this is me. And that's the thing that feels so good.
It does feel good. I'm glad that I've, found myself, as it were.
I love that. I love that.
with everything going on in the world, do you have any sources of queer inspiration that you look to for hope?
Ooh, that is a really, really great question. Um, I what I really love doing is reading other queer authors. And I have a whole multitude now of people who I'm so lucky that I get to call friends, that I can just dive into their books and get to see their experience, oftentimes their lived experience, or if not, then their characters' experiences, that truly do give me hope that there is like space for everybody and that every label is accepted. And uh like Johnny Garzavia's 1500 Miles from the Sun, I think is the best coming out story I've ever read in my life. It details so well the ups and downs that come from that, where it's like there's a lot of really great things when you finally get to come out, but there are still spaces in the world that are unsafe. And sometimes they're close to home, and sometimes they're actually your home. And uh, there's still room for just uninhibited joy, even in moments where sadness is literally on the other side of your door. There are still moments where it's just like, God, this is so good, and it's better than me being inauthentic to myself. And that's not at all to say that anybody should come out before they feel safe to do so, but it is to say when it is the right time for you in your life, there is such a freeing moment. Or Phil Stamper's Golden Boys duology. There's the Golden Boys and then Afterglow, and it's basically Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but following four gay boys. And it makes me so, so happy to think of that's bringing me joy. It's also making me choke up a little bit to think of if I had had a small, even just a small group, even just one other gay friend in high school, it would have been a game changer. And so to read Golden Boys, and it's four out gay friends in a rural community, and they're not the entire gay community in their school, but they're a huge percentage of it, being four of them. So it's a really small queer community. But to be able to have that friendship is just the coolest thing. And it does let me know that things are headed in the right direction. We're taking some steps back right now in the whole cultural conversation of book bans and censorship and all the anti-trans legislation that's going on. We are going the wrong way in a lot of situations. But I do think, even if it's just one, like literally I'm doing in front of me, you can't quite see, like 1 centimeter at a time, I do think overall we're heading that direction. We're net positive, even if it's the tiniest little bit of positive. We need to still be on top of all of this negative that's coming down. So it's not really leaps back. And even so, it's not like the little centimeters back. But being able to see those joyful books, especially, is so helpful. Even being able, I was talking about this the other day. One of the things that's bringing me the best queer joy right now is the show Yellow Jackets, if people are watching it, which is a horror,
Yes.
which is a suspense thriller moment. But queer relationships are at the center of that, are at the very core of that story. And it's not about being queer. It's not about trauma that comes from being queer. It's just these relationships are allowed to be in a story where it happens to be we eat our teammates. Like that's the most refreshing, wonderful thing to me. And when we can just have conversations in societally, nationally, that become huge critical and viewer hits, where a queer relationship is in the storyline, or multiple queer relationships like that are in the storyline, but it's not the storyline. I think that is so stinking amazing, where it just is such a normalizing moment. It's just so exciting when we can have things like that and have the drama be, oh, but who was the person she ate when they were stranded in the Alaskan wilderness? And not like who came down on her because she came out as a lesbian kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think you hit the nail on the head because as much as, certain novels are important novels to read,
Yeah.
we need queer joy.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what resonates so well with your novels because they're just fun.
Thanks.
There's a little bit of serious, but overall they're fun, they're bright, they're happy. And that's definitely what I need personally. I'm not sure about anybody else.
Thank
Um,
you. That really means a lot to me. And I definitely agree that like coming out stories and stories about some of the trauma that you can go through as an out queer person are important because that is a facet of our lived experience. But we gotta have the balance too because that is humanity. It's the good and the bad, and then you have the facts of life.
There's a number of folks who are sharing their experiences in the comments.
Ah,
Phil actually said that she came out after being married to a man after growing up in Alberta in the 80s, where it wasn't that being gay wasn't okay, it's that it didn't exist.
yeah, yeah. Isn't it wild where it's just like for a while we just weren't there at all in anything, even though we were very much here, but we were forced to be in the shadows, so to speak. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Matrodalia said, I had to drop out of high school because I was outed.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's just
And
what
it
two
was
weeks
it
away.
was in the Bible Belt.
Yeah,
Things are
yeah,
changing slowly but surely, thank heavens.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it stinks that like our generations and the generations before us were going through like the generations before me went through even more stuff than I went through, and I was born in 1987. And it's just it is a shame that anybody has ever had to go through that. And I'm so thankful now that teens can read books with characters like them. And we just really have to protect that right so that those books aren't banned and they lose that moment of connection because there are still it's funny to me, especially my like big city friends growing up in a small farming community. uh, I have people in my life that have only grown up in or lived in big urban areas and where they've always seen a diverse population across all sorts of diversities. And so it shocks them that there could even be kids born today that might have a hard time coming out. And I'm like, yeah, it very much still exists depending on where you live. Your community really matters. And we're getting caught in our big city bubbles too. We have to remember that there are still going to be kids that don't feel safe to come out in high school, that might not feel safe to come out in college, that there are still people like us that are coming into our gender identity in in our 30s and 40s and 50s and on because there is a societal there's a societal expectation of what humans are or can be, and they can't really see beyond that. And
Mhm.
so that even if we're not consciously thinking about how that can weigh us down, it weighs you down. And it isn't until you finally can kind of like swim to the surface that you're like, wait a minute, I've been missing out on all this whole time.
It's amazing. It's been amazing to me, probably just even in the last 10 to 15 years, that I've realized how much the societal expectations has formed my own thinking.
Yeah, totally,
Um, yeah,
totally.
because I think I've changed a lot in that time period. I
Yeah.
know what I consider okay and appropriate now is
Mhm.
a lot different than what it was back then.
For sure. For
My
sure.
some of my relatives aren't quite there yet, but
Hopefully, slowly but surely, they're getting
yeah,
there.
I mean, yeah, I'm an adult now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can do what I want, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to untrain yourself
Yes.
from all those
Completely.
thoughts because you
Completely.
didn't even know what some of them, some of the prejudices that you've grown up with, you didn't even
Yes.
realize that's what they were.
Yes. And what's wild to me too is, grappling with that gray area of humanity where some of the at least in regards to, like, gender and sexuality, where some of the prevailing notions of what is and isn't okay were pounded into my head, metaphorically speaking, by family members and loved ones truly out of love. They thought they were
Mhm,
protecting me and not
mhm,
trying to squelch a part of me, which was the after effect of that, where I did feel like I was under some cosmic thumb and not fully myself and feeling trapped and claustrophobic and not knowing why. Uh,
mhm,
but they were honestly doing it to make the world a safer place for me and
exactly.
not trying to make some sort of moral judgment on me or my character. And so like that's an eye-opening thing too, where you can realize some of these negative effects came to you because someone actually really truly loved you and wanted to protect you. And it's a whole lot to unpack.
I mean, that's exactly my experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I'm gonna make you realize that this isn't great just so that you don't go out there and get hurt.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's never gonna solve anything.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I have one more lighter question for Jason June, but if there's anybody in the comments that has a question for Jason June, please ask them. Now's your chance. I'll get to them in just a moment. All right. Drum roll, please. We
Yes.
love talking about cover art.
Yes.
And your covers are divinely cohesive for your standalones.
They're so good.
Do you have a say in them? Because they've been amazing since JSK Agenda.
So I lucked out. The universe pairing me / HarperCollins pairing me with Ricardo Besa. He's done all my covers with HarperCollins. And he just gets it. Like he will be given sort of the synopsis and vibe of my stories and character descriptions. And he just fully encapsulates that Jason June energy. And I want him to be doing my covers for all of time. He's going to do my next novel with HarperCollins, which is a Christmas novel, which I'm so excited about because I love the holidays. It's called Flopping in a Winter Wonderland. And
oh my goodness.
I'm so excited about it. I got to see a cover sketch and it's perfect. It's everything you hope for in a Ricardo Besa cover. And what's also been really delightful is, so my cover illustrator for The Spells We Cast that comes out in October is Thea Harvey, and they're amazing. I love that cover so much. It's so magical. There's like a little bit of Wonder Woman vibes in this golden lasso that Nigel, who's an elf-descended gay cowboy, brings around with him all the time. And what's fun is, even though there's like clear differences between Thea and Ricardo's style, I truly feel like Thea still gets the feeling of Jason June, and they still all go together in their like illustrated queers on the cover moment, which is just so exciting. I don't really have a say in terms of like, I want this, this, and this, and this on there, and it's like end all be all. But I have a say, at least with Harper, where they'll be like, give us your Pinterest board ideas, even though I don't have like a Pinterest account. They'll just send us vision board pictures and things of like what you would love on there. So with Riley, it was like, well, Riley's favorite color combo is orange and purple, so I would love that. I want the general like Hallmark, small Hallmark vibe of Mountain Pass to come across on there. And I want it to be clear that Riley is a podcaster. So those were kind of like my big three. And Ricardo just nailed it. Like we've got the Hallmark sweet little village here of Mountain Pass. We've got the orange and purple, obviously, and Riley and all of his femme glory. And then the podcasting mic over there, which was just so perfect. I'm so excited. And I cannot wait to show everybody the flopping Christmas cover because it is so good. It is so Christmassy and perfect.
When is that one coming out?
That comes out September of 2024. So, yeah.
It's forever.
I know. It's like a year and 3 months.
It's not too bad because Jason June has the fantasy coming out in October.
That's true. That's true.
Somehow, like, I've been so lucky where I've got 2 novels coming out this year. So we've just had Riley. We'll have The Spells We Cast. Next year, it'll be Flopping in a Winter Wonderland and The Spells We Cast sequel. 2 spells, 2 cast.
Is that the title?
It's, yeah. I actually know the title, but I don't think I'm allowed to say it yet. But it's going to be really good. And yeah, so I'm just like super happy that things just kind of seem to be trucking along in Jason June land.
Oh, Kristen will get after us if we don't ask our other question.
Oh, yeah.
Where can people get signed books of yours?
Great question. Go to bookpeople.com. Book People is my local indie here in Austin, Texas. And feel free to put any of my books in your cart and then just put in the comments who I should be making the books out to. And also, if you go to heyjasonjune.com, I have little links on my books part of the website that take you to Book People.
Awesome. And once again, your novel coming out in October is called
The spells we cast,
No,
following
the cover is
Angel.
very FT Lukens.
And I love FT. I love FT so much. All of their books I'm obsessed with. The spells we cast, in a brief nutshell, follows an elf-descended gay cowboy named Nigel and the curmudgeonly sprite-descended wood carver that he has to compete against to get into the Magician's Guild, which is an organization full of all magical-powered humans that have been granted powers from elves, fae, sprites, goblins, or nymphs. And you must compete if you have magic to get into the guild. It is not optional. And if you lose, your magic is taken away from you. And so it's a whole competitors, rivals to lovers moment.
I love it. I'm there.
It's a camp fantasy.
What'd you say?
It's a camp fantasy.
It is a camp fantasy, which makes me, camp is my favorite word to describe my books. It is such a camp fantasy. There's a bunch of like cowboy-isms in there, and it's just totally cringe sometimes, totally LOL other times. I just love it.
Are you gonna we didn't get to ask this. So you actually did the audiobook for Riley this time.
Yes.
So how did that come about?
Oh my gosh. It was this amazing moment where I'd asked to do the audio for both Jay's Gay Agenda and Out of the Blue. And for whatever reason, it wasn't right. It wasn't in the cards for the powers that be. But it was this time. I didn't even have to ask. They just came to me and were like, by the way, you're doing the audiobook. And it was the most amazing experience of my life. Truly, it was like, I might have even enjoyed it more than writing it, which isn't obviously true because I would have been able to read it unless I'd written it first. But getting to get lost in my characters, there's two fairly emotional moments in Riley. And I actually started crying while I was reading it. And it just was like, I felt like I was acting. I was actually acting, which was really cool to unlock a whole other mode of connecting artistically with my book. And I really, I hope I get to do it again. So if anyone from HarperCollins is watching, please let me do it again.
That's going to be my next question. I mean, as a fan, I was super excited that you got to read it because
Thank you.
like you're reading it to me because you were reading it to me.
Yes.
So you don't know yet if you'll get to do the next one?
Not sure yet, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because flopping is a dual point of view. So I hope they do like with Out of the Blue, where I would get to play one of the characters and another narrator will do the other character. And I know which one I want to do. So
well, can't wait to find out.
Thank
I'm ready.
you.
Okay, this is a great one. And I need to ask this question.
Yes.
How do you balance writing such joyously queer novels while balancing being queer positive but also authentic?
Oh, I love that.
Especially given the current climate.
I love that. That's really amazing. So my general outlook on life is, I guess I have two solid viewpoints about humanity. The first that was really nailed home during the pandemic is just that people suck. There's nothing you can do about it. People will work against their own best interests. They'll go through all kinds of mental gymnastics to convince themselves it actually is for their own interests. And that is really lousy. And people from all political spectrums, all areas of the world do this. But then the other thing I know for sure is we're our own best hope, and we also create the most magic. And so that's kind of where I tend to lean, is into the latter fact of life for me, is that we are our own best hope and there is magic in humanity. It doesn't actually have to be fays and elves and goblins and nymphs and sprites. We have magic, and we can create things with our energies and the way we interact with other people and the way we love other people. And that is always where I will lean. But then I also still want to acknowledge, which I hope is what you're reading as the authentic part. That's a big compliment. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge the fact that we are our worst problem. And oftentimes, and I think this is why some of my naysayers call my characters unlikable, is oftentimes we are the biggest cause of our own problems as individuals, and we will be the biggest obstacles in our way, or we will let our insecurities stop us. And that to me is a sign of a human, is having to grow and learn where your biggest pitfalls are and getting through them and grappling with the good and the bad that happen concurrently at the same time all the time. Even if in your life you have really worked through a lot of your own personal personal obstacles and mistakes that you need to grow from. Even if you've worked through all that and you personally are in a really great space, there's always bad happening around us in the world. And those two things have to happen at the same time. If you're looking for that moment where there is no bad at all in order to finally start the joy in your life, that's never going to happen. And so, not while humans are around. And I hope we're around for a really, really long time. And so you just got to figure out the ways to find that joy and to acknowledge the bad and not let it weigh you down, but also acknowledge it in a way where if you can change the bad, that you do. But if you can't, to accept it and change the parts of the world that you interact with for the better as much as you can. And that's all we can do. I think that is the meaning of life.
I agree. And it's a beautiful way to end this chat.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This really
Of
means a lot.
course.
I love the whole Words and Whimsy and OwlCrate community.
We love
Are you a member of the Nest?
I am a member of the Nest.
You are. I
Yes.
remember now. Yes.
I'm so bad at interacting on social media for the
That's
most
okay.
part, but I'm going to try to dive in more.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason June. Thank you for joining us this evening. And
Yes.
we're going to have you back in October
Perfect. Oh, I can't wait.
to talk about magic and cowboys and camp fantasy.
Yes.
And thank you to the Nest for being here. If you weren't here, we wouldn't be here. So we're exceptionally grateful as always. Our next author chat is happening on Friday, June 2nd. So this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to be chatting with Neely Tabati Alexander about her debut, Love Buzz.
Yes. So exciting. Have the best time.
We hope that everybody has a most excellent night.
I love y'all so much. Thank you very much.